Crocs. The ugly duckling, the footwear that everybody loves to hate. Since its inception in 2002, the shoe brand has had a polarizing effect on the world, with some people absolutely loving them and others absolutely despising the shoes. So how did Crocs overcome mockery to become a fashion icon and billion-dollar pop culture phenomenon? In 2008, when investors were writing the company off as a passing fad, Crocs had lost more than $185 million that year. Yet, a decade later, the so-called fad had solidified itself when the company sold 700 million pairs of shoes. And now, the once widely mocked shoe is now adorned by rappers and British royalty. From Prince George to Post Malone, Crocs as a brand has turned on its heels to come back from the brink of bankruptcy and become a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company. Let's find out how. Launched in 2002 by Lyndon Hanson, George Bedecker Jr., and Scott Shamans, Crocs was originally developed as a boating shoe. The shoe is made out of Crosslite, which is a proprietary resin material and has great impact absorption and hence provides great cushioning when turned into a shoe. Furthermore, the material resists odor, inhibits bacterial and fungal growth, and is non-toxic. All these properties made it a great material for a boating shoe. The trio introduced the shoe to the world at the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show in Florida, and the 200 pairs that they had produced were all sold. Soon enough, the product started attracting attention from non-boating customers. This led the company to showcase Crocs at Shoe Market of the Americas, a prominent footwear exhibition in March of 2003. The company received interest from major footwear retailers and the sales soon began to climb. Crocs became immensely popular in a relatively short period of time. In their first year of operations, the company sold 76,000 pairs of shoes, generating $1.2 million in revenue. Just a year later, Crocs sold 649,000 pairs of shoes that translated to $12.3 million in revenue. 2 years later, in 2005, the company had sold 6 million pairs of shoes, generating a massive $108.8 million in sales. Then the company went public in 2006, raising over $200 million in its IPO, and this was the biggest IPO in the history of the footwear industry in the world. But the next year was the most profitable year in the history of the business, raking in more than $168.2 million. Crocs were selling like hotcakes. Everyone from kids to parents to hospital and restaurant workers sought them out for their comfort and functionality. The company's stock hit an all-time high of $68.98 per share, making it one of the hottest stocks that year. Then, in October of 2006, Crocs purchased accessories manufacturer Jibbitz, and the personalization of Crocs with Jibbitz has been a major driver of the average selling price while expanding the originality and uniqueness of the Crocs line of products. However, as they say, all good things come to an end. The unparalleled success of Crocs soon began to slow down. By 2008, many began to feel that the Crocs was just a passing fad. The company realized that they needed to go beyond just comfort and functionality in order to gain mass appeal. They somehow had to make Crocs fashionable in order to become one of the top footwear brands in the world. In order to do so, the company embarked on an unprecedented growth spree, adding new product lines, distribution channels, and markets worldwide. Soon enough, Crocs had expanded into over 5,000 SKUs, thus saddling the company with excess inventory. Then came the 2008 financial crisis. Overnight, the sales of Crocs plummeted. Crocs lost a whopping $185 million that year. The stock price fell from nearly $69 a year prior to just $1. The unsustainable growth strategy adopted by the company had backfired in a massive way, and they had over 2 years of excess inventory at their hands. Furthermore, Crocs had fallen into a common pitfall for young companies, trying to be all things to all customers. Over the next few years, the company narrowed its focus. They shut down underperforming stores, optimized their distribution network, reduced overhead, and cut down the product line by over 80%. They also doubled down on their flagship product, the clog. In 2019, clogs accounted for more than 60% of sales. Clogs became extremely relevant as consumer preferences were shifting back to comfort and functionality. Although Crocs has been pivotal in the rise of the athleisure and ugly fashion movements that began taking roots in 2017, they began to innovate around the clog, turning it into a trendy statement shoe that stood for individuality and self-expression. However, the company took cue from the hypebeast culture and began collaborating with designers, celebrities, and other brands to drop limited edition clogs. Since 2017, Crocs released dozens of limited edition clogs in collaboration with the likes of Balenciaga, KFC, and the popular rock band Kiss. Some of these limited edition clogs, such as the ones designed by Post Malone, are now being resold on the sneaker reselling platform StockX for thousands of dollars. This Supreme-esque luxury drop model turned the company's fortunes, and it soon began to gain mainstream appeal. 2019 was a record-setting year for the company, as it crossed $1 billion in revenue for the first time. The company sold a whopping 67 million pairs of shoes worldwide, generating over $1.23 billion in revenue. By December of 2019, the stock was up nearly 500% since the beginning of 2017. The company had finally cracked into the world of fashion, and Gen Z was obsessed with Crocs. By 2020, the company had become the 12th most popular footwear brand among teens, and some of that success can be attributed to Jibbitz removable charms that allowed customers to personalize their clogs. Crocs stated that the Jibbitz audience has 2 times the lifetime value versus consumers buying from the clog, sandals, and work categories, with sales doubling in 2020. Richard Wharton, footwear veteran and founder of The Office and Offspring, says the concept of popular and cool are often confused, and Crocs are riding the wave of that wider clog trend. Wharton says, Crocs and cool. It's debatable in some quarters that they are. It's confusing popular with cool, but they've certainly become more popular off the back of the clog trend from the Birkenstock Boston clog, the Louis Vuitton clog with Nigo, Suicoke, UGG, and the classic wooden clogs from Rachel Comey, Hermes, and so on, which have all had massive boosts through the lockdown after the slipper indoor-outdoor boom. There are some really cool clogs out there, which in an ironic way makes Crocs cool again. They're comfortable, cheap, and very practical and functional. They tick all the boxes except beautiful. But hey, Doc Martens, Birkenstocks, and Uggs are all pig ugly, but loved for their comfort and function. Like Lysol and hand sanitizer brands, Crocs actually benefited from the pandemic in 2020. While COVID ruined businesses around the world, Crocs pulled in $1.4 billion in earnings, an increase of 12.6% over 2019's earnings. Additionally, Crocs stock price quadrupled in 2020, and the hits just keep coming. In the third quarter of 2021, Crocs posted a record revenue of $625.9 million, a 73% increase from the same period in 2020. Crocs have hit the youth market hard and, cleverly, opted for digital cash-first approach since 2015. Thanks to the recent online surge, digital represented 42% of total revenue in the fiscal year of 2020 compared to 31% of total revenue in 2019. The Crocs brand is number 1 in the clog category, a global market said to have grown to $5 billion according to LEK Consulting, internal estimates, and Trade Title Footwear News. Crocs operates 351 stores worldwide, including full price, outlet, kiosk, and store-in-store formats, and 42% of revenue came from international sales in over 80 countries. Shane Raju, founder of sneaker raffle site Sneaker Addict, is a recent convert to Crocs. I bought my first pair of Crocs in November of 2020. A friend of mine had been wearing Crocs to work and always bragged about how comfortable they are. Crocs are really affordable compared to many sneakers and the Yeezy Foam RN&R, as well as being easier to purchase. The comfort of the shoe and ease to match it with any streetwear outfit definitely makes it appeal to the Gen Z consumer. I think collaborations with celebrities such as Justin Bieber, Post Malone, and Takashi Muramaki helped reach the younger hypebeast audience. Pop stars such as Drake and Pharrell have been seen wearing Crocs numerous times, Raju says. The most popular collaborations have been with Justin Bieber's clothing line, Drew, and clothing brand Chaintown Market and Post Malone. The Chinatown Market Croc is reselling for over £200 on StockX. I definitely think I would raffle one of the more trendy Crocs such as the Chinatown Market Croc, as there is a huge demand for these collaboration Crocs and only limited pairs available. I feel Crocs are going to continue to gain more hype for the next few years, especially from the Gen Z consumer. I can see many more collaborations with brands and celebrities as they've been so successful. Maybe we could even potentially see a potential collaboration with Nike or Supreme in future days, he says. However, selling 69 million plastic pairs of shoes a year comes with some environmental responsibility. To counter this, Crocs has joined the Sustainable Apparel Coalition and is, quote, exploring environmentally friendly raw materials. It currently reworks 45% of its Croslite production waste back into its production process. Over 98% of the Crocs product line is currently vegan, with a goal of being 100% vegan brand by the end of 2021. In 2020, over 85% of the product was sold out without shoe boxes, meaning over the past 5 years, they've been able to save over 250 million shoe boxes from entering the market. They've also partnered with several organizations to keep unsellable product samples out of the landfill, with 90,000 pairs of shoes donated in 2020. Crocs was well placed to capitalize on recent buying changes, moving into personalization early, charting a digital-first strategy, and then blanketing the market with a good mix of collaborations has empowered the brand into the cool sphere of influence amongst Gen Z. Wearing things deemed ugly is often seen as a bridge of honor for people to express their confidence and gain attention. The personalization option also visually resonates well on social media. It's a very look at me shoe, so it's safe to say that Crocs have made a name for themselves in the world of fashion.